Today we're taking a look at the latest updated trade rumblings from around the NHL. We're looking at guys like Christian Dvorak with the Arizona Coyotes. Then we're looking at what defensemen the Islanders might be targeting. Is Timo Meier available in San Jose? Plus, we have another retirement to discuss as well. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL players I want to take a look at in the trade rumor mill today, and we have another player announcing his retirement. Now, the retirement announcement comes from a 31-year-old former NHL goaltender Anders Nilsson. Most recently played with the Ottawa Senators. He's unfortunately been battling concussion-like symptoms and post-concussion syndrome, I guess we'd call it, really ever since he played his last game in Ottawa. Like, he ended up injured and battled concussion, and he never really got clearance to play again, unfortunately. I mean, the former goalie, he's a huge guy, 6'6", from Sweden. Had a decent stretch of games for Ottawa. Had a decent career. Was drafted by the Islanders originally. Briefly played for other teams like the Oilers, the Blues briefly. Ended up in Vancouver, where he was there for a few years. That's probably where most people remember him from. And then, like I said, the last 2 years was a Senator. And of course, he was traded to the Lightning, though. Technically, that's where his contract finished up, even though he didn't technically play. He was one of the players that the Lightning grabbed to kind of expand their pool of LTIR money for last season. So now that his contract is expired, he's officially announced through his Instagram account today that his career is over, that he just cannot seem to, get that clearance to move past all of the symptoms, unfortunately. I said only 31 years old, so goes to show you just how much impact concussions can have on people in their careers, way sooner than you'd expect. Of course, he did have some time where he played for Sweden. I believe he played for them at the World Junior Championships back when he was eligible for that before he got his NHL start. Overall, a pretty good goaltender, but, disappointing end to his career. And I think it's fair to say he's one of those guys that never really fully seemed to hit his full potential, but had his moment. So best of luck to Anders Nilsson, and we certainly hope that the symptoms subside and at least he can have as normal life as possible and enjoy family life and his retirement here. Now, looking at the trade rumblings from around the NHL here on today's Sunday, August the 8th, we're going to do like a rumor roundup. We've talked a lot about the last few days about some of the top names that have not moved yet. There really isn't much more new surfacing on that front. So when it comes to like Eichel, Tarasenko, even Johnny Gaudreau, who we're not really sure is going to be moved at this point, those guys are still out there. There could be deals, but they're still not, like I said, nothing really relevant and new to talk about today. But I do want to focus a little bit more on Christian Dvorak of the Arizona Coyotes, who I've mentioned numerous times here. Lately, he's getting a ton of attention from around the NHL. And I was referencing a recent report here from Jimmy Murphy of Boston Hockey Now, talking about how the Bruins have expressed interest. And even though they've explained via Don Sweeney and Coach Bruce Cassidy that they're likely going to go into the season with the lineup they have now, probably give Charlie Coyle the first chance to be the number 2 center. And then they have guys like Foligno and Haula who can play in that third line. And obviously guys like Trent Frederick, Curtis Lazar could be their 4th center. So we'll see how they do the lineup. But they don't seem to be too concerned. But at the same time, there is reports, though, and rumors that the Bruins are, even though they're saying that they're still kind of, interested to add the right player if they can manage to do it. And they're still kind of, kicking tires around the league, looking at what is out there. But the price tag on Dvorak is not cheap, as you can imagine. The Coyotes are looking to get a lot here, especially where it's a pretty valued contract, given what you can get out of this player. He's still signed for a number of years, $4.5 million. Like, he's well worth the money, in my opinion, in the right role, the right team, and he would make a good Bruin. But it's believed that they've dangled a package of like Jake DeBrusk and Zaboral. DeBrusk and Zaboral were not seeming to getting it done for the Coyotes. So if that's their preferred package, and I can understand why. I mean, almost like I mentioned before, if they're going to go after a center, DeBrusk makes sense, or if they're going to go after a left shot defenseman, that he would probably be the player that they move. Would have enough value to be at least close to getting it done. But the Coyotes don't seem to be interested in that. So, that's not likely going to happen. I'm not completely convinced that the Bruins will give up on that. I think there's a real chance that they may end up, making another stab at it here. But, of course, they do have youngster Jack Studnicka as well, who, in my opinion, does deserve more of an opportunity. And, they have him as a center who could be in that 2-3 spot too. And he's, like I said, they have other options. So maybe they go into the season with what they have and see how things go. Make a move in season if they feel they need to. So not to say that the Bruins won't make a move, but it seems like their interest in Dvorak remains, but their price tag is not going to get it done. So it's fair to say that other teams probably stand a better chance to make that move. And as I mentioned, there's other teams that have been linked to Dvorak and have shown interest, including the San Jose Sharks, the Montreal Canadiens, and even the Calgary Flames and Minnesota Wild as well. Now, we've mentioned the Wild a lot with the Jack Eichel connection, but obviously, like teams like that, they do want a top 6 center. And if they feel that the Eichel price tag is just too much, too high, which probably fair to say that where it hasn't changed and it still is, then obviously they could circle back to plan B, which could be a decent player like Dvorak here and make something like that happen. Now, so we'll see. But Dvorak's getting a ton of attention. But right now, out of all the teams, though, the team that I'm kind of seeing that might be the most interested actually is San Jose, based on what I've read here. Now, there's an article from San Jose Hockey now indicating that their interest in Dvorak is quite high because the Sharks were rumored to be making Timo Meier available. They were open to getting him a fresh start and moving him along, but his $6 million contract has proven to be problematic at this point. Even Kevin LeBanc has been mentioned too to get him on a fresh start and move him along. And teams are just not wanting to take the contracts on right now based on what their production level has been for where they're at. And as much as, Meier's been out there, it's just not looking good. Like there was a link earlier between Meier and the Devils. I know Elliot Friedman reported on that, but then he was then told by a Sharks source that not to go there. The Sharks were not really pushing a Meier to New Jersey deal, and it's likely wasn't going to be going down. So Meier or LeBanc in San Jose could still be dealt. They're still likely out there. I'm not sure we'd see like a Meier for a Dvorak deal because as much as that might make sense from the San Jose side, the Coyotes don't want to. They really don't want to take NHL money. They want picks and prospects. And if you're not going to be offering them that, then they're probably not going to bite, which is why we haven't seen a deal for Boston or San Jose when it comes to Dvorak. So we'll have to watch the situation unfold here, but he's a good player with lots of attention. Now, Montreal, they've got lots of picks and prospects that they could offer up if they want to do that deal, but I'm not sure how serious they are. Like they've been mentioned in the rumor mill as being interested, but I'm not sure how interested they are. We'll have to see what develops there on Dvorak's situation. But certainly a key player to watch, and especially the ones who don't get Eichel could, like I said, make more of a play for him. Is a great value on a shorter term deal than Eichel. A lot less money. You're not going to get the offense, but you're going to get enough offense along with strong defensive play, good checking, that it's probably well worth exploring here. Now, before we go further into the trade rumors today, I do need to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers where you can get 20% off and free shipping into all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here, even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. Thank you very much for watching that promotional video. I do greatly appreciate it. There's a link in the pinned comment down below, as long with the promo code of TSH that you can use to get your discounted products there through Manscaped. Terrific stuff. I highly recommend you check it out. Now, moving on to the rest of the rumors here, we want to look at the New York Islanders. Now, I want to reference an article here from Arthur Staple of The Athletic, referencing the New York Islanders' potential targets for trades on the blue line. Now, we've heard a lot about the Islanders and Tarasenko or Johnny Gaudreau or like a top scoring forward, which I do feel they need, would make a lot of sense. But there's been more rumblings lately that, you know what, maybe that's not what they're up to. that they're more likely focusing on a D-man to replace Nick Leddy, who they had to move for cap purposes. And now that we're through the expansion draft, now that we're further along into free agency and all that, they could find another veteran defenseman to come into the mix here and kind of round up this decor. Now, of course, they've signed Adam Pelech. They have a youngster like Noah Dobson who's ready to take a bigger role. They have some other guys too who can step up. So it's not a given that they have to do this, but they want to go for a Stanley Cup. Like, look at last year. They pushed the Lightning to Game 7 and lost by 1 goal in the Final Four here, like in the semifinals. Like, to me, you could almost say they were as much of a Stanley Cup runner-up as Montreal was, given that they took the team further and deeper and came much closer to beating them. Like, they're a force to be reckoned with here, and there's just 1 or 2 pieces that they might have to shake up to get this done. So Arthur Staple references a number of defensemen here that I wanted to look at to see kind of what makes sense here. Now, one guy he referenced was Damon Severson in New Jersey. I don't see that happen. For one, I don't see the Devils moving him just because they acquired Dougie Hamilton. Doesn't automatically make Severson expendable. If Severson's your number 2 right shot defenseman, then you still got PK Subban for a year. That's really not an issue. Like that to me, they can let that ride out, and Severson can still be a big role there. So I don't necessarily think they're going to move him. But again, would he be a good piece for them? Maybe, but I just don't see it happening. He references now Vince Dunn in Seattle, who's been in and out of the rumor mill. Obviously, when the Blues had him, he was going to be traded. Then he ended up going to Seattle because he didn't get moved. And now they signed him to a 2-year, $4 million contract. And it's not really clear if Seattle intends to keep him or to move him. And I think of all the defensemen on that roster, they're bound to move a couple more of them. And he's one of the more interesting ones. He's younger, has an offensive upside, so he's probably going to get more interest and more value than a lot of the other guys. So there is that. Now, to me, that would be a terrific possibility of the Islanders targeting him. So that, to me, could very well make sense. They could use a younger piece, maybe like a Kiefer Bellows, who they seem to be reluctant to give a significant or consistent role to, is what I should say. And they have some other younger pieces too that they might be able to part with or picks. So to me, that's actually a decent option for them, would be done in Seattle, based on what Seattle would likely want in return. Now, of course, they also references a couple of defensemen in the Ducks organization. We had mentioned before about Cam Fowler. He is one of them that Staple references, and also Hampus Lindholm. So either of those guys could be good options. Fowler has a long-term contract. I guess it's good to have stability, and you can project your cap out further that way. But do they want that? Well, the Ducks move Fowler. I mean, I know the Ducks will move. There's a fair bit there they will move. I don't honestly know that they would move Fowler, though. Hard to say. But I can see why either of those defensemen could possibly make sense as well on the Islanders roster. He also references a guy like Jake Gardiner in Carolina, who's only got a short term left on his contract. I think he makes like $4.5 million. Doesn't really play a ton in Carolina. I don't know that that's the answer. Depends on how they want to use him. I mean, if he's going to play third pair minutes and maybe a little bit on power play, maybe. But Jake Gardiner's not the same defenseman he was in Toronto, even offensively. He's never been great defensively. Offensively, though, he was a pretty solid puck mover and point producer with the Leafs, but he hasn't really shown that since he's left. And they even mentioned Calvin DeHaan, former Islander, who could be available here as well. So DeHaan, again, could he go back to the Island? Maybe, but it really boils down to the role. DeHaan's a decent, serviceable defenseman, but where are you going to put him? If you want him to play a similar kind of role Nick Leddy did, that's not going to work, in my opinion. But unless you want to elevate other members here and give them a smaller role, then perhaps. But to me, either like a Lindholm, Fowler, or Dunn would probably make a lot more sense and be a lot more of a impact on the blue line. So makes a ton of sense that they might be exploring that. We do know, like I said, with all the secrecy that we've had with the Islanders and their contracts, it makes a lot of sense that they're working on something, and obviously a very well could be a defenseman, and it would make a lot of sense if one of these were the guy that Lou was zeroing in on, and just a matter of time before we find out, I would think. I don't know how long this could drag on for, though, before they have to announce some of these contracts, because it's been quite some time. So hopefully we'll eventually find out what Lou and the Isles are working on here, but of course that is all your rumor roundup here for today. So of course I want to know your thoughts and opinions on what we discussed down below and in the comments. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Daily uploads, often multiple per day as well, to keep you in the loop here on all the things going on around the entire NHL. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.